From the Cronkite Studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
I'm going to be signing a national emergency.
Protests taking place all across the country this President's Day. We'll take you live to Washington, D.C. and show you why.
Plus, coming out at the Capitol, the fight for LGBTQ equality here in Arizona.
And the high country getting slammed with a major winter storm. So just how long are these cool temps going to stick around?
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Anthony Totri.
And I'm Marcela Bayeto. Thank you for joining us.
Protests across the nation taking place today in response to President Donald Trump's national emergency declaration. The protests are opposing the order signed Friday that freed up billions to construct a wall along the southern U.S. border with Mexico.
The move has divided Congress over the president's use of executive power and whether there is really an emergency. At least 2 lawsuits by watchdog groups are challenging the legality of the declaration, and California's Attorney General said Sunday he'll definitely and imminently file a suit.
Cronkite News reporter Micah Bledsoe was at a rally outside the White House this morning. She joins us live from our Washington, D.C. bureau with what took place. Micah?
The mood today in Lafayette Square was upbeat. The hundreds who gathered in front of the White House chanted along as speakers took the stage. Despite the mood, however, those speakers from organizations like the American Civil Liberties Union and MoveOn.org had a serious message.
Is there an emergency? Is there an emergency?
The rally came just 72 hours after President Trump stood in the Rose Garden and declared a national emergency along the U.S. southern border.
I didn't need to do this, but I'd rather do it much faster.
Trump says the declaration will let him divert $6.6 billion to construction of a border wall. Dulce Lopez, a DACA recipient who comes from a family of immigrants, says it was a must she attend today's protest.
The wall is a sign of white supremacy. That wall is nothing else but a sign of racism.
Protesters not only challenged the need for a wall, they questioned whether there is an emergency and whether the president can shift funds without congressional approval. And protesters like Sister Ardith Platty thinks it's not what America should be about.
Well, we are one people. We are a nation of immigrants. All of our forebears came before us here. So we want to be a welcoming nation and come back to the values of the United States.
Lopez says the real emergency is removing the current administration from office.
It is really a symbol to separate the brown people coming to the U.S.
But FAIR Director of Research Matthew O'Brien said Friday that the country doesn't have to be facing an imminent crisis for the president to declare an emergency.
I think the emergency refers more to the need of the president to use power that he would not ordinarily use in the course of his everyday activities, and to shift priorities without needing to wait for Congress to debate on the issue and then pass some kind of specific legislation.
But Sister Platty says the president should listen to the protesters.
Well, it's really an important day because President's Day is one day that we really come to speak to our president.
Today's rally at the White House was one of scores that organizers said were going on around the country to protest Trump's actions. And they said one of those rallies took place earlier today in Tucson. In Washington, Micah Bledsoe, Cronkite News.
Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton took to Twitter today to speak against President Donald Trump's signing of a national emergency, saying the real national emergencies are relentless gun violence, children separated from families at the border, climate change, and Americans dying for lack of health care.
Dozens gathered at the Arizona State Capitol last week to speak their mind to lawmakers about LGBTQ equality. The group's core goal, they say, is to work toward a state where everyone has an opportunity to thrive. Cronkite News reporter Austin Westfall spoke to some who attended Arizona LGBTQ Lobby Day. Austin?
Being denied housing, services, or even being fired for being part of the LGBTQ community. Those are some of the discriminatory problems participants say brought them out of the Capitol, fighting for change.
These are frankly frightening times that a president of the United States would openly and aggressively enact policies and executive orders that would roll back the rights of transgender people.
Today is a day about owning our voice.
For Erica Kepler, coming out to the Capitol is much more than just politics. For her, it's personal.
We are not deserving this kind of treatment that I feel is important that I have taken an opportunity to raise my voice.
Kepler is a transgender woman and one of dozens of advocates and supporters who participated in the LGBTQ's Community Lobby Day.
She is one of your state representatives.
An opportunity for those who support specific bills to come out and push legislators into action.
So whether it's hearing a little bit about folks who've dealt with conversion therapy or learning from people about the need for employment non-discrimination and housing non-discrimination, we are hearing stories that then I will be able to share with my colleagues.
Members of organizations such as Equality Arizona and the Human Rights Campaign want to get specific bills passed.
One of them is Senate Bill 1249.
For example, Hernandez is co-sponsoring an anti-discrimination bill aimed at addressing employment, housing, and public accommodation rights for the LGBTQ community. Organizers also pushed bills dealing with gay conversion therapy, ending violence, and making voting rights more accessible.
One of the really exciting parts is being able to hear directly from people who have been impacted by some of the laws or lack thereof here in Arizona.
Last month, the Supreme Court allowed President Trump's transgender military ban to go into effect. Many in the LGBTQ community say it's a serious setback to their cause.
This administration has attacked the LGBTQ community, so that's why so many of them are here at the state level saying, in the absence of things at the federal level, we need to work on stuff here at the state legislature.
Eduarda Schroeder turned out to show support for her lesbian daughter.
You basically love your children and you just want them to be safe.
Organizers say events like Lobby Day help lawmakers tailor bills to help bridge the gap between legislators and the constituents they serve. Austin Westfall, Cronkite News.
In response to the number of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, the educational nonprofit Indigenous Vision is turning the tide with a movement for missing and murdered Indigenous warriors. Cronkite News reporter Imani Stevens shows us how a Valley teen is fighting with the nonprofit to teach others how to defend themselves against attacks. Imani?
Brave woman, that's not just Kylie Hunton Winter's Instagram name, where she has nearly 40,000 followers, but her Native American name that she was given by a medicine man as a baby. She is living to her name by teaching self-defense class in response to the number of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. I went to one of her first classes teaching students of the Native American Club at Westwood High School in Mesa. As a 16-year-old high school student, Kylie Hunton Winter recently received her black belt in Kenpo Karate. She's a part of the Standing Rock Sioux Nation and teaches self-defense classes and has various belts in multiple styles.
We have to be more prepared for ourselves, which is a major reason why I'm teaching self-defense.
In his hand, this is hurting him, it's isolating him.
They assume that our lifestyles have something to do with drugs, alcohol, and risky situations.
Together, Suta Calling Lass and Hunton Winter are working to reduce this problem. Calling Lass says now is the time to do something while she waits on legislators to implement policies that will protect Native American women and girls.
Because in between now and the policy, women will still go missing.
An Urban Indian Health Institute study that began in 2017 found out there were 506 cases of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls from 71 urban cities.
Remember, if you are taken, you are only 10% likely to make it home alive.
That same study reports that out of those 506 unique cases, 280 were murder cases.
It could be me. An unprecedented amount of women from my community are disappearing at alarming rates, and it's an epidemic in Canada and the U.S. Indigenous Warriors movement that we're hoping to create really hopes to turn that tide.
Teaching those in the class to shout, draw attention, and fight back, even if it's counter to how society tells them how to act.
As I've heard someone say, their ego is not worth your life.
Her journey to helping others doesn't end in the classroom. Next month, Kylie Hunton Winter will be teaching more life-saving techniques to other teens at her reservation, and this summer at a camp for Native American girls in foster care in Montana. Live in the studio, Imani Stevens, Cronkite News.
Taking a live look now at Arizona's Snow Bowl up in Flagstaff, where a major winter storm dumped 17 inches of snow overnight and 22 inches over the last 3 days. And an even bigger storm is expected to slam the high country later on this week. Ashley Carter is tracking the chilly temps around the state right now. Ashley?
Yes, Anthony, that snow is continuing to come down heavy, around 6 to 11 inches in Flagstaff, lows in the single digits this week in most cities in that northern Arizona area. And the National Weather Service has advised people to be careful when traveling upstate. So if you did have plans to go to the northern part of Arizona, you might want to reschedule because those roads are very dangerous and hard to visit. I am going to track more temperatures across the valley for this week later on the show, so you're going to want to stay tuned.
Check out the snowfall in Strawberry, Arizona this morning. According to the city's tweet, they got almost 9 inches of snow. And here's a post from Grand Canyon National Park Service after they received over 8 inches of snow last night alone. So it's no wonder the Arizona Department of Safety is warning people to avoid the high country if possible due to dangerous driving conditions. 2 endangered species in the Southwest are now a part of a new mural in Yuma. The mural is a part of a national project led by Tucson-based Center for Biological Diversity. As Cronkite News reporter Jody Guerrero explains, the goal is to highlight and raise awareness about endangered species.
The endangered Sonoran pronghorn is the fastest land mammal in North America, and the Yuma clapper rail is a large-footed marsh bird found throughout the Southwest. Both are featured on the theater building wall at American Western College in Yuma. Roger Peet is the lead artist and has painted murals around the country featuring different endangered animals.
One of them is an animal of the open desert, and the other is an animal that lives in the wetlands and the sort of like flatlands of the Colorado River Basin. So they sort of represent a lot of what the Yuma ecology is really defined by, the meeting of the rivers and the broad open desert that's kind of austere. These two animals represent those two ecologies coming together.
Peet is based in Portland, Oregon. He partnered with Phoenix-based artist Lucinda Hinojos. She usually focuses on immigration murals.
These type of murals actually unite and bring people together, and that's what I love about murals, and that's one of the reasons why I paint, is to educate and to bring people together so they get the information that they need.
The mural is not only meant to be art, it's also meant to bring awareness to these lives that are being affected on the border. The Yuma clapper rail was listed as endangered in 1967. Drought caused by overextraction and misuse of water threatened their existence. The Sonoran pronghorn was also listed as endangered in 1967. Lakin Jordahl works on borderlands issues for the Center for Biological Diversity. He says the pronghorns are affected by Border Patrol activity along the U.S.-Mexico border.
Studies showed that the pronghorn were being disturbed an average of once every 4 hours by Border Patrol helicopters, by Border Patrol SUVs. And I mean, imagine being one of only 19 animals left. You have to repopulate your entire species or face extinction, and you're being disturbed every 4 hours?
The Sonoran pronghorn population has since increased to about 200 in the U.S., and Jordahl hopes this mural will help raise community awareness about these two endangered species. In Yuma, Jody Guerrero, Cronkite News.
The Center for Biological Diversity's Endangered Species Mural Project has 20 murals across multiple cities, including El Paso, Los Angeles, Oakland, and Tucson.
Coming up after the break, one woman's mission to help inmates re-enter society, how she's raising public awareness and empathy towards the struggles inmates face once they're released.
Plus, new info on how the NASA Twin study is offering clues to the Rickers of space.
I'm Judy Woodruff, anchor and managing editor of the PBS NewsHour. The journalists of tomorrow face a fast-changing media landscape, but quality news remains vitally important to our communities, our country, and our world. At ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, students learn solid, reliable reporting, holding the powerful accountable, and rebuilding the public's trust. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
From inmate to activist, one woman has made it her mission to raise public awareness about the difficulties inmates face when re-entering society. Cronkite News reporter Bayan Wang had a chance to learn about her initiative.
So I would just say, hi, I'm Sue Ellen Allen, and I just got out of prison.
Sue Ellen Allen got out of prison 10 years ago.
I served 7 years for securities fraud.
And she's continuing to pursue a calling she discovered behind bars.
I wanted to go back into the prison and teach leadership.
Now she's raising public awareness and empathy towards the struggles inmates face when they are released.
We are at All Saints Episcopal Church having a re-entry simulation. It's a 2-hour experience where what I like to call normal human beings are here to experience what it's like to get out of prison.
At the beginning of the simulation, each of the 50 attendees were handed a certain amount of fake money. Then, for 3 15-minute rounds, they would visit a variety of public institutions like food banks, social services, and probation offices.
I couldn't believe it. I went to a food bank and they took a bus ticket from me.
I couldn't get plasma unless I had a state ID.
I don't have any money. I need to cash my check.
I say getting out of prison is like being shot out of a cannon, naked and blindfolded into a brick wall. And they're experiencing that.
By the end of the simulation, several reflected on what they learned.
The goal is for people to be productive and not to feel like being in jail is better than living in the free world.
It's hard. Being a good citizen is hard, but it's worth it.
In Phoenix, Bayan Wang, Cronkite News.
In March, Sue Ellen Allen says she'll be talking to state lawmakers about the measures to aid former inmates in getting jobs and transitioning back into society.
On Friday, researchers announced at the American Association for the Advancement of Science meeting that there's new findings on a unique NASA twin study involving Mark Kelly, who's running for U.S. Senate here in Arizona. The study revealed that Mark's identical twin brother Scott Kelly's immune system was hyperactive compared to his. After Scott spent a year in space, full results haven't been published yet, but this raises new questions for doctors as NASA hopes to put people on Mars in the future.
While many people are enjoying the day off for President's Day, we decided to take a look at how some are celebrating on social media.
Phil Mickelson posted a selfie with 3 former presidents saying nothing like a good hashtag President's Day selfie. George P. Bush posted a photo of his uncle and grandfather saying, here's to 2 of my favorites, 41 and 43, grateful for their service to our country. And DC Comics tweeted this, Superman's cleared to enter the Oval Office, right? Up next on Cronkite News, why one professor is saying DACA is not a legislative issue.
And how dreamers are fighting for advanced parole to be restored.
Temperatures right now in Phoenix, 55 degrees with some clouds, wind only going 8 miles per hour. It's been a very, very chilly President's Day. There's no rain for at least the rest of the day, but it is coming up in the forecast. I'll have that later on for you, so you're going to want to stay right there.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickerburg.
Live in Los Angeles. In Cleveland.
In Washington. In Louisville.
From Jerusalem.
Live in Philadelphia. From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
DACA recipients from Arizona, California, and Wyoming met with U.S. Representatives Alan Lowenthal and Annette Barragan in Washington, D.C. to discuss the importance of advanced parole. Reporter Micah Bledsoe is joining us once again with more on what was discussed.
DACA opened many doors for Phoenix resident Karina Ruiz de Diaz, but closed a very important door, the one that would let her visit her dying grandmother.
I had my grandmother passed away last year, and so I was not able to ask for this humanitarian permit to go and be with her in her last moments, give my farewell, and be with my family to mourn that loss.
That's because federal officials in February stopped taking applications for advanced parole, a program that let DACA recipients leave and re-enter the U.S. without applying for a visa. Ruiz de Diaz joined other deferred deportation recipients here today to demand the Trump administration restore advanced parole.
The taking away of advanced parole is inhumane. It's uneducated. It destroys educational growth for these students. It destroys their ability to meet with their families.
Lowenthal of California says that while courts have blocked administration efforts to stop DACA, it's time to restore advanced parole. California State Long Beach professor Armando Vasquez Ramos says it's not a legislative issue. Advanced parole is in the hands of the administration.
It's not something that is pending what happens to DACA. As long as DACA is in place, advanced parole needs to be restored. That's the bottom line.
Ruiz de Diaz is not waiting for the administration, saying people need to put pressure on lawmakers.
I mean, it's not enough for people to feel sympathy for stories and our loss. We need them to take action.
In Washington, Micah Bledsoe, Cronkite News.
DACA recipients on the panel discussion say advanced parole would allow recipients to participate in educational opportunities that could be advantageous to the U.S. as well.
Just 2 months into 2019, and it's already time for the biggest supermoon of the year. Starting tonight, February's full moon, also known as the snow moon, will brighten night skies. It will look huge due to how close it is to Earth. But the supermoon won't be visible for Arizonans when it reaches its peak tomorrow morning at 8:53 our time. So if you want to catch a glimpse, the best times to glance up will be tonight and Tuesday night.
Ashley, Marcella, I don't know about you guys, but when I'm checking out this moon tonight, can I rock my flip-flops or do I have to put on another sweater?
Sadly, you're going to have to leave those flip-flops where they are, at least for this week. Looking at the rest of the evening, only 52 degrees and in those lower 50s for most of it. We are going to drop down to that 48-degree temperature around 9 o'clock tonight. So again, a very chilly Monday. But looking at state highs tomorrow in that northern Arizona area, 27 degrees in Grand Canyon, 27 degrees in Flagstaff. They are going to expect very bitter cold weather tomorrow. Over in Phoenix, 57 degrees for that high, so a little bit warmer than what we've been feeling today, but not by much. 61 degrees in the hotter part of the state, Yuma, so they're going to have a nice day at least. Looking at the day tomorrow, when you wake up, it's going to be around 40 degrees with some sunshine, and by noon, there's going to be sunshine, but don't be fooled by that. It's still going to be 50 degrees outside. So again, very, very cold weather. 4 o'clock, it's going to be around what we're feeling right now, 55 degrees. Looking at the rest of the week, tomorrow, sunshine, 57 degrees with that low at 34. Wednesday, 57 degrees again, low at 45. Thursday, the rain is back. 51 degrees for that high, 43 for that low, and it is also going to be on your Friday. 50 degrees for that high on Friday. Saturday, there's going to be some clouds with a low of 35 degrees. And Sunday, the sun is coming back out, but we're not going to quite hit those 60s. Only 58 degrees with that low at 39. And next Monday, we see some clouds with the bigger warm-up than we've had in the recent weeks. From the Cronkite Weather Center, Ashley Carter.
When we come back, a trendy new drink that claims to help with anxiety and stress, and it doesn't have alcohol in it.
So why is Arizona's first kava bar set to open soon already stirring up controversy? We'll explain after the break.
Stay in the know on the go. At Cronkite News, we work hard to report the facts and keep you updated, whether we're on set or on the scene.
Taking it from the studio to the field. So I'm here in South Phoenix.
In Phoenix, we're just a click away. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or find us online at cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
I started watching Horizon. It was all about local, detailed information, interviewing representatives, the debates. It was all local, and having moved here from Minnesota, I really didn't have a lay of the land, so it was a way to get details on the new state I'd moved to, and I liked it. It wasn't combative, it was informative. It was just, here's the facts. That sucked me in quite quickly.
For more information about including Arizona PBS in your future plans, visit azpbs.org/giving.
Kava has been used for thousands of years as a sedative, but the supplement is coming under scrutiny by health professionals over safety concerns. Kyle Dowd talks to an Arizona business owner and a medical doctor who agree there needs to be federal standards.
Kava is often marketed as nature's Xanax, calming anxiety and stress.
The feeling of being dazed but not confused.
Chase Brendel will open what he says is Arizona's first Kava bar in Phoenix next month, hoping to catch a business wave of more than 100 Kava bars around the United States.
It just takes the edge off. You know, it makes it a little bit more fun, makes you feel a little bit better while you're hanging out, makes you very talkative. But again, you're not losing control of yourself, of your faculties like you would if you were drinking alcohol.
Kava bars are a part of the emerging relaxation drink industry, By 2023, the industry is expected to be worth nearly $500 million. But Arizona toxicologist Dr. Michelle Ruha says kava can, in rare cases, put users at risk.
It's definitely been associated with very severe liver disease, including liver failure and people having to have liver transplants as a result of their kava use.
In 2002, the FDA issued a consumer advisory about possible medical problems. Dr. Ruha says government standards should be rigorously applied to kava and other herbal supplements. She points to several studies warning consumers about the potential side effects.
People use them as medications, so they really should be treated like medications.
Brendel agrees and says perhaps the federal government should step in to assure the quality and purity of kava.
My goal would be in the long term to see it be regulated, because what happens with a lot of kava bars is, right, they want to get into it in a cost-effective situation. They're buying it from the cheapest distributor they can find, and there's really nobody that says, hey, this stuff is good. This stuff is clean. It's been processed in the right facility.
Brendel says he will keep on top of the quality of the kava he sells. In Phoenix, Kyle Dowd, Cronkite News.
The FDA recommends people with liver conditions consult a physician before consuming kava.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
On the next Arizona Horizon, we sit down with the sons and daughters of Barry Goldwater to discuss their father's passion for photography. A Goldwater special on the next Arizona Horizon.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.